You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Eternal Tournament Series, Season 1, Week 5. We're in Round 5. I am Gabe, also known as Calimdir, and in the booth with me is Sir Rhino to break down this matchup.
Yeah, we've got a pair of 3-1 players here fighting for that top 8 lives. And yeah, it's Krizalio on Skycrag Aggro versus Missingtoez on Justice Primal Shadow Scream. So I believe we have Scream decks representing all the factions today. And this version with Justice has been pretty popular. I know we've ducked in and seen it earlier where you get access to Harsh Rule and Stone Powder Alchemist. Those are the big grabs for dipping into Justice on this Scream list. How do you think it matches up against Skycrag?
Versus Skycrag, I think Skycrag is where you want to be against something, a clunky combo deck. But, I mean, he does have Gorgon Fanatic and Stone Powder Alchemist. Also, notably, this Scream deck is running Harsh Rule. So if there was a Scream deck I didn't want to run up against, this is probably it. But I still think it's slightly favored towards Skycrag just because it's the more consistent deck.
Yeah.
Question, though. What Scream deck is running time? That's what I want to know. You said it's representing all the factions.
There are rumors that there is a Scream deck with time in the field today.
Okay.
Maybe it's unfounded. I haven't looked up the exact list, but I've heard rumblings of it out there.
Oh boy.
But yeah, the really awesome thing for the Skycrag deck in this matchup is 4 Daring Pioneer in the main deck for Krizalio.
Oh yeah.
As this match gets underway, like you're talking about Harsh Rule. If Daring Pioneer is out in play, there's not going to be a Harsh Rule.
Yeah, and I mean, this version does not run Grasping in Shadows, but that's also like a huge hit. This version just trying to get value with Vera mostly, and then Scream, but still big. And then we see just immediately right off the bat Krizalio go, yeah, Skycrag Pyro Knight into 4/2 charge Champion of Fury, getting slayed, but the damage is already done quite literally.
And now Krizalio has the option of either deploying Vadius or Daring Pioneer. Goes with the Aegis unit. We'll get the 4/4 Overwhelm down at a later time. And Missingtoez is feeling the pressure and doesn't have double shadow, so can't even try and stabilize off the back of this Rindra.
Yeah, and that Gorgon Fanatic looked like a reasonable blocker, but man, Cinder Yeti just puts that, just exhausts that immediately. And now we're looking at 2 mortars in hand plus a torch. That's 11 damage just from hand.
Yep, but Slay comes out from Missingtoez here, means he could get in with Fnatic and gain that life, but you gotta imagine Torch comes out from Krizalio, and there.
Yeah, definitely. Now Missingtoez just, I mean, was on the back foot from turn 1 and is still going to continue to be on the back foot. Daring Pioneer not helping that at all.
Yeah,
really
now
going to be
Scream
difficult to
isn't
deal
an
with
out.
Vadius.
Yep, and Feeding Time or any of these spells just kills Daring Pioneer. That's all that happens, and then we'll just see a Mortar go face, and that'll be that. If Missingtoez had been able to cast one of these Rindras, if the influence had worked out, this may have been a different game. The only answer Krizalio had to them was that one exhaust for a turn.
Yeah.
But when you're 3 faction, that's the risk you run. And when it, on the other end, you've got this super hyper consistent aggro deck.
Yeah,
you're going to get punished.
And we didn't get a chance to talk about it because we got into the match so fast. But this Skycrag deck is one of the more lower curve Skycrag decks. It's just, not running Obliterates, not really running not running Crimson Firemaw or anything like that. But it does have 4 Soulfire Drake.
Yeah, it got only 8 cards total that cost more than 3. 4 Mortar, 4 Soulfire Drake, and those are going face, right? Everything else, you got your 12 1-drops in Oni Ronin Pyro Knight, Snow Crush Yeti, your Champion of Fury, which just brings the pain, and some really efficient 3-drops that pack a punch. So, but now we're going to go to the sideboard where there are Obliterates available to Krizalio. Don't know if he'll dip in and grab those, though.
Yeah, and something that I think really helps Skycrag right now that I think everybody should probably end up doing is Rockslide has been moved to the sideboard, which is, I think, where it belongs in this meta, where there's just so few units on the board. And I think that helped there, especially when you get to bring in cards like Caleb's Choice.
Yeah, Krizalio already has 2 Caleb's Choice in the main. Could bring in the third one, especially with Missingtoez likely to bring in all 3 Lightning Storm and the Devastating Setback, and probably the Extracts as well. Those are almost certainly better than Feeding.
Yeah. When everything is this small, extract is really good.
Yeah,
And against a deck that is just attacking your life total specifically.
yeah. Occasionally, it's nice that feeding time can turn Soulfire Drake into a frog, but ultimately, still is a 4-cost removal spell against that.
Right.
Shocked to see that get shaved down. Yeah, post board, Missingtoez has access to 3 Lightning Storm and 4 setbacks. That's a lot of sweepers.
Yeah, 3 storm, 4 setbacks, 3 extract. This is going to be a way different matchup game 2.
Mm-hmm. This is going to come back to, though, what happened in that first game. Missingtoez didn't see double shadow, and if he gets stuck with setbacks and extracts that are uncastable, it could actually just end up being the exact same as the first game. So
yeah, true.
This
It looks like though his power base. I mean, he's not that unlikely to
hmm,
draw double shadow. He doesn't have notably Vera's favor though, which is a big deal here. He only has the 3 seek power for fixing, and then is relying on the multitude of double influence power cards that he has.
yeah, they've got plenty of shadow sources here. I think they might have more shadow sources than Primal looks pretty close with. So it was just some unfortunate luck last time around that they didn't have double shadow. But looking at the hand they're looking right now, doesn't have double shadow either, but it does have a lightning storm and an uncastable wisdom of the elders.
True. I mean, hey, we could get there with that crest.
Krizalio is looking at a hand that's got an Oni Ronin and an Oni Ronin Permafrost that can cast it all. Doesn't have double fire, but it's hard to turn down a turn 1 Oni Ronin even.
Yeah, turn 1 Oni Ronin is good. You do need somewhere to go with it, but Krizalio's deck just has so much stuff going on that I wouldn't be surprised if he draws into something good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
also wouldn't be surprised to see him throw this away. Maybe he wants just a little more guaranteed gas, but he does need to get started pretty quickly.
Yeah, the thing with mulling Krizalio's hand here is you've got a 33% chance of guaranteed worse hand, right? That's the odds of getting a 4-power hand. Every 4-power hand is way worse than this. And so then you've got to think about how many 3-power and 2-power hands are better than this. And I think ultimately you're going, this is better than the average mulligan.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you here. I mean, we know that Missingtoez has Storm, but not much you can do about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, generally your best bet is to play like they don't have it, even if they have a bunch of storms and setbacks in their deck. When you're aggro, you just most of your threats die to lightning storm anyway. You're not going to magically find some hand that's better against it unless you are lucky enough to find the hands that have like Yetis or something.
Yeah, and trying to play around it by only losing 1 or 2 units at a time, and you're just not going to kill him fast enough. But players are considering mulligans, and looks like he does redraw, and he does draw a reasonable hand, but it is 4 power.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to keep a hand with 2 Oni Ronins, why not board them out, right? But here we see no 1-drop from Krizalio now. Did mulligan into that 4-power hand, and already looking at 5 power on turn 1.
So there's no way for Krizalio to have the Skycrack champion come out and attack on turn 3 while also ending up with double primal.
Yeah. So that is this is the nightmare mulligan for Krizalio here. It's like all this power, and it's awkward because Diplo Seal and Banner. So if he wants this Champion of Fairy to come out charging, as you said, there's not really a way to do it and get double primal on turn 3. Or ever.
Meanwhile, Missingtoez, a bit short on power still, kept the original hand, I think. Gets to play a Stone Patter Alchemist next turn, though, which is going to be huge in this matchup. And then draws a Crest of Cunning, which is probably the best power he could have drawn there.
So Krizalio now has the option of either deploying the Pioneer to counter a spell, but instead goes with Cinder Yeti. And Missingtoez is salivating with this Lightning Storm in hand. We'll see if he pulls a trigger on it, though.
Krizalio missed the 3 damage because he had to avoid getting charged so he could cast cards like Daring Pioneer. And now, now with this Stone Patter Alchemist in the way, he missed even more. But gonna start getting the clock on finally and hope that maybe this Daring Pioneer will buy him another turn.
Yeah, so Missingtoez got a little greedy there, was willing to accept that he's going to take 7 extra damage here on using either Storm or Setback, and
did
opts to
you
go with the Storm.
did you see what he had on top there with the crest?
I missed it.
I was just a little Destiny Stone Powder Alchemist, no big deal.
That seems pretty good. What do you think
Yeah.
about using Lightning Storm over Setback there when you have to play like a depleted power the next turn and the difference?
Well, it ended up not mattering that much, but I would have liked to go with, I think, the line you're suggesting, which is use the more expensive card to potentially be able to cast 2 cards a turn another time or something like that.
Well, the dust has almost settled here. Missingtoez is still sitting at 18. Krizalio did bring in those obliterates, but they've got a ways to go if you're going to start pointing burn at face, because now Missingtoez with this extract goes up to 21. This is what we were talking about post board, man. Just sweepers on life gain coming in. Missingtoez ready for aggro.
I think you got to just start throwing these obliterates face and hope that you just draw into Soulfire Drakes off the top or something like that.
Yeah, Soulfire Drakes and Champion Yetis. But here we go. Setback doing its other mode, which is rip burn spells out of your hand. Now Missingtoez is at 15 health. There's just a mortar left, and that's a lot of harsh rules. I don't think that's exactly what Missingtoez is looking to draw.
No, but I think being on board with a Mocto and having an extract in hand is a reasonable place to be.
Yep. It's a 4-turn clock essentially, and you're sitting pretty at 15. It's better than being dead, that's for sure. But here comes the Champion of Fury. This is what Skycry can do. In that chip damage in spots.
Yeah, I mean the game's not over, but it's very close to it.
Yeah, now Missingtoez recognizing that this is really Krizalio's one window, does not want to take any chances, decides to play extract there rather than play out the Mocto.
Yeah, and I think that also playing the Mocto accelerates the clock a little bit, but it means you might not be able to block next turn because otherwise you just kind of. Yeah, also Permafrost would have been disastrous.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree with using the extract there. If you just take out one of the potential threats and gain a little more life, you're not in that big of a rush to kill them. There you have it.
Yeah, and we see what happens when Krizalio's deck stumbles a little bit. Missingtoez takes over very quickly.
Yeah, and that's why I wasn't sure about mulling that hand. You had a 1-drop. You were on the draw. The risk of shipping that meant exactly what we saw there. A lot of power, no 1-drop. Now, I'm not saying if he kept that hand, he would have won, but he certainly got max punished for it.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. We'll see if either player changes anything up going into game 3 and how the mulligans end up.
Yeah, I'm just under the impression like, okay, if you're going to have a hand with double Oni Ronin and mulligan it, why did you even keep Oni Ronin in post board, right? Like, when else do you want to see that card in your hand? So that's just my take on it. So maybe that's where Krizalio is going to go here, is board out some more of these 1-drops and just play Furnace Mage and Alpine Trackers and try and beat down with those.
I definitely think that I'd rather have a hand with Snowcrest Yeti and Oni Ronin than I would have 2 Oni Ronins, but it doesn't mean, you can't play 2 Oni Ronins. So yeah. And it looks like players are starting to get into game. In Krizalio's hand, he's got a Pyro Knight. He's got a Seed of Fury and a Fire Sigil, so undepleted power on turn 1 for this Pyro Knight, into a Champion of Fury with charge on turn 2. I mean, that's the start you want. And then if he draws power, he's got Vadius, Daring Pioneer. Yeah, so he keeps this immediately.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Missingtoez is, kind of an awkward control deck, and they got kind of an awkward hand.
Yeah, but that Justice Sigil off the top is huge now.
Justice Sigil is huge, and Devastating Setback will be devastating.
Yeah, Missingtoez only missing double Primal right now and can get that with Seek Power, which they might opt to play over Strategize.
Okay, so
goes with Strategize instead.
Krizalio has a turn to draw undepleted power for this Daring Pioneer, which could drastically change how this game plays out.
Yeah, if Krizalio finds a Primal source here and jams the Pioneer, that'll be huge. But instead finds a Fire source, so hands are tied, has to deploy Vadius, and Missingtoez will found a seat off of that Strategize, so will curve out here Gets to play the seat this turn and set back. Though we've seen him go greedy with wisdom in the past in this
spot. He's going to go Storm.
Yeah, sure. Seek and Storm is totally.
Yeah. And Vadius, not a bad constellation prize. I mean, gets to live through the storm, but not having the extra primal now and 2 permafrost, you really only want to see 1 to 2 over the course of the entire match. You don't want to see the 2 up front before Missingtoez even started playing Moctos.
So Toes has the option of playing the Rindra here, or no, plays it safe, goes with setback, and goes to clear. At 12 health, the risk of playing Rindra there was pretty high in the face of.
Yeah, it's a question people face all the time when they're playing control is like, do I play blockers? Do I play removal? And the answer is usually, what have you been doing? Keep doing that because that's what you've been draining them resources on.
Yeah, and now we just see the same thing get run back here, right? Use Harsh Rule, keep this board clear before trying to deploy this Rindra. No Crush Yetis to draw for Krizalio, has nothing else to do, so out it comes. And the Daring Pioneer could end up doing work at some point, but for the time being, it's stranded in hand.
So Snowcrest Yeti going to be pretty relevant here, actually. The 2 damage.
Whoa.
Oh, wow. Hold on.
Yeah.
So this is 5, 6 plus 3. That's 9, right? Oh.
Okay. That's fine. Deciding to hold on to the charge unit so it can have impact on the next turn.
Right, and he can't cast the torch anyway.
Yeah, wow. All 4 Harsh Rules to draw for Missingtoez in this matchup. But this is going to be lethal for Krizalio here.
Yeah.
This is a charging Champion of Fury plus Torch.
And that's the power of Skycrag, just nonstop. Yeah. Like even
pressure.
when Missingtoez has answers, even when Skycrag is being slowed down, there's just so much from hand damage that unless you're actually gaining life or actively blocking units, eventually Skycrag will kill you.
Yeah, Missingtoez did not see a Stone Powder Alchemist or an Extract that game, and it showed, right? He just had the removal every turn, but that chip damage added up. That 2, then 4, then 6, and eventually you get to 25.
Yeah, and the 1-drops, I mean, being able to play a 1-drop on turn 1, like just everything like that all added up, as opposed to the much slower start that we had the game before. And that's going to be Krizalio taking this match 2-1 over Missingtoez.
Yeah, and that just goes to show it's a lot harder to do like even 28 damage compared to 25 damage. Our aggro plays on a very thin margin and was able to overcome it in that final. Krizalio takes it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if we have any backup matches for you, but while I find that out, why don't we talk a little bit about the ETS recap show, which was started by Counterbob and Rekenner, starting on Tuesdays, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's called Best of 3. How's that for a good title?
Yeah, it's pretty good if you ask me.
Yeah, the best part is when aReNGee's on there too. He usually moonlights as an analyst there too. So there's 3 people, and you get the best out of them, right? Genius.
Oh yeah, totally.
So they recap what's going on in the ETS, both Team League and in these open. So you get breakdowns of the meta, interesting decks, what the players are doing, what standings look like, and that's every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So that's right here on the aReNGee Eternal Twitch channel. Definitely check it out. It's some really cool content if you like to know what's going on in the world of ETS.
Yeah, and I guess while we're waiting for backup matches, let's see what other cool decks we got submitted this week, because there's a couple interesting things that happened with the changes to FJS and the addition of or the removal of Harsh Rule and the addition of all the lifesteal, and then this new JPS Scream deck, which is yet to be proven. I kind of missed the train on that one. Were you around for its inception, or know exactly why it's so popular this week?
No, I gotta admit this one I'm out of the loop on. I kind of I had to take a break from Eternal in the past week, so maybe it spawned while I was away. It's got some cool ideas going on. Stone Power Alchemist is a great card, so why not just go back to the Harsh Rule style of reanimator. I get where they're going with this.
Yeah, and Harsh Rule plus Vara is not a new concept. It's just that previously you were missing a lot of tools, and I think people have done a lot of work tuning these strategized haunting scream lists that people are now figuring out how to, if exploring more archetypes with it because they've had so much success.
I found the Scream deck that's playing Time Sigils. It
Okay.
has got Blister Sting Wasp. Okay, it's kind of like Killers. It's got Piercing Grief. So it's playing 4 Varus Choice.
Okay, I like it.
Phoenix Tin brought it.
It's playing 4 Dark Return, right?
Yeah, 4 Dark Return. So it's kind of like Killer's Scream, right? It's got the 4 Vara, 4 Rindra. So you can give Rindra Killer or Piercing Grief Killer.
And yeah, I'm taking a look at this now.
So that's
Twilight Hunt. Holy moly!
Yeah, Twilight Hunt because it's a Nightfall enabler for Rindra. Still have your 4 Nocturnal Observers and then 1 of Zenith Initiation. So it's like Scream Killers. It's a cool idea.
All right. I guess Killer Piercing Grief is not bad.
Yeah, I'm generally not the biggest fan of Piercing Grief, but I can buy Killer Piercing.
I would like to see more Zenith Initiation with Piercing Grief personally, but I mean, Zenith Initiation does cost 2.
Yeah, 2 is a lot more than 1 when you're trying to combo it the turn you play Piercing Grief.
Yeah, exactly.
I get where they're going with that. Didn't make it up. The rumors were true. There's Scream of all factions.
Yeah, people loving Scream this week.
Yeah, I have no idea how it's doing. I should.
Yeah. So, do we have any word on backup matches for this round?
All right. No backups is the word.
Okay.
And I also just checked. The Killer Scream deck is 1-3 currently.
Well,
not the best showing.
The dream is dying.
Look, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah, well,
something there.
There's something there. I believe it. I'll hold you to it. The next time I see you streaming, I want to see a Twilight Hunt cast and a Blister Sting Wasp.
I can do that. I don't think I'll play Piercing Grief though. I can't.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's going to be the end of our coverage for round 5. Stay tuned, and we'll be back to bring you more action in round 6.